Hello, and welcome to my 13 horrifically silly days of Halloween. It's day 10, and today we celebrate the 15th anniversary of my feature film Space Zombies, 13 Months of Brain-Spinning Mayhem. Some of the cast and crew are here to celebrate our 15th anniversary. Welcome, guys. So it's been 15 years, everybody. Wow. Now, let me just let each of you introduce yourselves. Please tell me what you did in the movie and what you're up to lately in a nutshell. I'm going to start with you, Kev. You were the star.
Thank you very much. I'm Kevin. I was Dr. Vic McNaughton. And what else did I do? I did the special effects. I did the sound. I carried lots of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I did in a nutshell. And
you did a lot of audio work too. Tons of audio work as well as the special effects.
That's right. Yeah, I did a lot of the audio work as well.
So, hi, I'm Kelsey Matheson. I'm originally from Calgary, but I've lived in Vancouver and Japan, and now I'm in New York. But when I met Reagan, I was living in Toronto. I lived in Toronto for about 17 years or so. And I played Betsy and subsequently Ju-Jube in Space Zombies. And I went to theater school here in New York. And I think it was shortly after I came back to Toronto after theater school, I auditioned for Kevin and Reagan. And was it, I don't know if it was for this project or another project.
It might have been, did you audition for us first for a They Suck reading?
I think so, yeah, and it was for a reading. I thought so, yeah. So I've worked with Reagan on a few different things, and then I stayed in the film industry, film and television for a while. I did some theater, but then I got married, and we had our daughter, and so my career and my focus kind of shifted.
My name's Connor McCurry. I was Zombie Lord, or the Zombie Lord, really.
Goodness. Okay, I played 2 or 3 people, I think.
Yeah.
People. I played a client at the cat clinic.
Yep.
And I played a human who had been, like, abducted and taken over by a cat body.
Little bits and pieces on you.
Yeah. And then I think I was onlooker number 3.
Yes.
When I was just looking at those. Yeah.
And Rob?
I believe I played, was it Lance Sirius? Was that his name?
Yes,
okay.
Lance Sirius. News anchor.
News anchor, yes. I wasn't in it a lot, but I had some dramatic moments.
Yes. You were shot in a newsroom being an anchor,
yes.
And then you were shot in the field too, where you were, on the scene with Phil, the cameraman, played by Johnny, who was mostly supposed to be crew. He had no idea he was going to end up on camera, and I'm just like, oh, just go, be yourself, a camera guy, and be annoyed with Rob or Lance Sirius. So yes, yeah.
I'm Johnny Bong. I was the second camera operator, I think. But I also carried a lot of things. I just kind of helped out. What else did I do? I also designed the poster, I think.
Oh yeah, and the covers of things, yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. I don't know. I just came out of art school at the time, and I was eager and happy to just do something.
And today he's the Cyberman. That's what it's at.
Exactly. Jason.
Yes. So my name is Jason Riley, and I played the moral man, a man of great importance who was narrating the movie, and popped in for the occasional cameo. And then I went off and I did some marketing for about 12 years. And now I'm back into the world of acting. I've been back for a couple of years now. So I do lots of auditions and get rejected on a daily basis, if I'm lucky. So it's great.
Same as writer, right? Get rejection letters all the time. And
I love it. They don't even make a letter. You just never hear back. It's wonderful. It's the business, and I love it.
Alrighty then, Darcy.
Hi, I'm Darcy Windover. I played Zombie Boy, and I also was in a band that provided some music for the movie. And my day job is a teacher, and I work as a musician at night. And yeah, that's about it.
Your band was the herd mentality at the time, correct?
At the time, yep.
Yeah, cool. What is it now?
Well, actually, the Darcy Windover Band.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I'm regularly making music and releasing it, and I put out an album called Cope earlier this year in April.
And these days I work as a media librarian.
Do you want people to know?
I wasn't hiding it. I just stopped my sentence. I work as a media librarian at the CBC.
And now I'm an entrepreneur. I own a number of businesses, including Anamaya Resort in Costa Rica, which is a boutique hotel and a yoga retreat center. I also own a backpack company called Bee Outfitter, which helps to put children around the world through school with the sale of our products. And I'm the founder of the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy, which is an online academy that helps women take control of their health and well-being without any diets or gimmicks. And I've started other businesses along the way here and there for the past 20 years, but all of that led me to become a success and an empowerment coach for women. So now I'm running my businesses, but I also work with women one-on-one to help them get out of their own way, to help them heal past emotional trauma, and really to help them create the life that they dream of living. So that's where I'm at today.
And so nowadays, I'm a graphic novelist. I've created a series called Kill Shakespeare with my buddy Anthony Delcall, and I've written for things like Assassin's Creed and for Regular Show and Adventure Time. And I also develop film and television properties.
I would like you to tell me your recollections of playing Betsy, but particularly when Betsy was also Ju-Jube in her mind,
Yeah.
and kind of how that happened. But how was it playing a character within this ridiculous sort of plot?
Well, I loved playing Betsy and Ju-Jube because
I guess we should explain who Ju-Jube is for those who haven't seen Space Zombies.
Yeah, do you want to explain it?
Yeah.
You can explain it better than I can.
Ju-Jube is Dr. Vic McNaughton's cat. He's a veterinarian. And there's a question as to whether, Betsy is in love with Dr. Vic.
The doctor.
Yeah. And they eventually do get together, but there's sort of a question as to whether Vic loves Betsy or his cat Ju-Jube more. Ju-Jube was played by my cat who passed a few years ago. His name was Frodo, and it's a Blue Point Siamese cat. So the Space Zombies switched not the brains, not the physical brains, but the thought essences of Betsy and Ju-Jube. So that's what we're talking about here now. Sorry about that, Kels. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's also a good reminder for me too, because I haven't seen it in a while, and it's been a long time. But so essentially, I got to play two different characters, but who were intimately connected. So I was sort of playing a dual role, but because I was still Betsy, and like you said, it wasn't like our brains were switched. It was more like I played it more like a dissociative identity disorder almost, right? Where like this personality comes through Betsy. And the way I played it, just to give it a different, so I had a lot to do because I feel like, cats can be played sometimes more aloof, right? And I was like, well, that's not really necessarily that much fun. Like I wanted something, and also because you said our brains weren't switched, I'm coming through Betsy. So I decided to kind of play Ju-Jube more of it as a kitten. Like I figured like this was kind of going back to an essence of, something fresh and new. And I figured because it was all new, like this cat coming through Betsy, I thought that instead of it, the cat energy being more mature and perhaps aloof, which I'm not saying all cats are like that, but I wanted to play it more like kitten-like energy. And I thought that also kind of was Betsy's love infused in the cat. So, but oh my gosh, like it has been a long time. But something I do remember very clearly was how much fun everybody had on set. Like everyone was so fully committed, right? As crazy or strange or fantastical as it got, like everyone was just totally on board. Which I loved.
Yeah, despite the fact that we were making a B movie on purpose, and we were trying for mistakes, and mistakes were planted in there on purpose, and when mistakes happened accidentally, as all mistakes do, they were kept. And I remember we decided that Ju-Jube was going to have an English accent, and his voiceover was done by my husband, Kevin. So when you switched thought essences, Betsy had to have or Betsy's body had to have the accent, and then Ju-Jube was talking with a regular North American sort of accent.
I totally forgot about that.
Bill the cameraman. Okay, so I only had like 3 or 4 seconds of screen time, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, poignant.
I mean, I've watched it recently, and I thought, man, I should have dialed it down. I thought that was a bit too much. Oh, the real camera guys. Well, it was fun. It was like it felt like a bunch of cool people getting together and shooting something and not taking it too seriously.
Yeah, no. If you took doing space zombies too seriously, that would be entirely missing the point.
What was it like playing the zombie lord? I mean, it was a lot of fun, right? I mean, it was, I remember we were in the veterinarians where Reagan worked, and we were just kind of all squished in there. It was kind of it was a very low ceiling set. It was fun, right? I mean, the whole thing was fun. Everybody got to improv and to have fun and create their characters. And Zombie Lord, I remember the direction I got was that, like, he's a little effeminate, and that I should play him as a little effeminate. And that kind of morphed into him thinking he was this minor, like, aristocrat, kind of like this Habsburg dynasty type of guy. Like, I kind of feel like he might have been a hemophiliac, which I feel would be like, which is tough for a zombie lord to be a hemophiliac, right? Like, there's a lot of reasons that would not work very well. So, yeah, it was a lot. I mean, those, doing all the stuff, the triple take, I mean, it wasn't the first time I got a chance to work triple take. And every time I did, it was always fun, and it was kind of what guerrilla filmmaking was meant to be, ridiculous, silly. Nobody takes it seriously. Everybody had to try something. I mean, we took, taking it seriously in the sense of, I always felt like everything was really well run, and it was a real treat to be on a set where you knew what you were supposed to do. But at the same token, it was meant to be fun, and it was fun.
Basically tried to take it from the approach of being like a failed Shakespearean actor, sort of in that mindset of the Plan 9 from Outer Space sort of vibe. And yeah, it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. I do remember one of the shoot days was at a cat hospital, and there were so many cats there. And I don't think before that I was probably moderately allergic, and then I was extremely allergic that day. I was so sick.
Oh no!
and then since then I have not had a single issue with a cat, which is so strange. So I think it was like the death of my allergies by overexposure. It was incredible.
Interesting. Yeah. I have heard that sort of thing can actually happen, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be talking a little more about the cats later on as well. But for now, Jason, some of your recollections playing your ludicrous role.
Yeah, he was a fun character to play because we got to use a lot of big words and some big words that weren't really words at all, which were all kinds of fun to be able to do that and to be able to have to deliver that with conviction that these are big words.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun. And also my scenes were all shot separately from the rest of the film. So I wasn't on set. I don't remember, you might remember, I don't remember, I think we did my stuff first, or maybe not, I'm not sure, but I hadn't had the opportunity to see it, so it was very interesting being able to introduce the film and interject some of those moments without knowing exactly what was happening. And then, of course, when the finished film came out, a lot of time that would have been voiceover, some of what the other actors were doing. So that was really interesting to see.
We were just doing the first, the short version of Space Zombies first,
Yes.
and then we decided to tack on episodes 2 and 3, and also take those and put them all into one film. So it was like we were doing an act at a time. So we did need to bring people back, including you, Jason, and shoot more. But yeah, for particularly the first version of the movie, Space Zombies: Terror in the Sky. Yeah, you were probably shot a little closer to the beginning, so not everything had been shot yet, but at the same time, it wasn't the very beginning, I don't think. Okay, Kev, your actions playing your role, which was also ludicrous.
Yes, my ludicrous role. Actually, I kind of think of it as at least 2 or 3 roles, because when we did the first one, I remember thinking of that stereotypical wooden hero type who kind of stood there, just kind of delivered his lines, whatever. And I also thought of like old comic book pictures where I could just like envision the hero squinting a lot and kind of
in the teeth,
showing his teeth and jutting out his jaw a little bit. And I came to regret that, because I developed a number of eye twitches throughout the shoot because I was squinting so often. And then in the third part, I was a complete madman. So it was the same, lots of squinting, clenched teeth, jutted jaw, but completely different. I was just sort of loopy and all over the place.
That is great. That's the definition of great acting there, Kevin. It's all jaw. And it's
I thought you meant loopy and all over the place.
No, and loopy.
Do you guys have favorite moments in front of the camera, Rob?
Well, I barely remember the newsroom one, but I very vaguely, like very clearly remember going out and doing the out on the street one. That stands out in my memory. But I will say, in terms of it's not my favorite moment, but I do know that I was the one who suggested Lance goes in for the nose pick in the newsroom. So, and forever haunted by the fact that I suggested that. So
yeah, because there's a still of that too.
Of course there is. Yeah,
it's good.
That's what's going to come up if I ever make it famous. That's going to be the big thing that comes out. Be like,
yeah.
Totally. What about you, Kim?
Sure. I think there has to be the end when like the paper mache two-headed guy, and we were all in the cat clinic, and we were sort of like trying to go home or something. It was crazy because I was in this little tiny room with the cat doctor, right? Because we filmed it on location. And it was just all of us packed in, and like I think the brief was just to be like, to fight with this two-headed monster thing. Anyway, yeah, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, making room for each other in a number of shots. Actually, that happened a lot for different cast and crew members crammed into a scene together that wasn't built for that many people.
There was the animals. There was animals in the cages as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were not necessarily in the scene, but yeah, they were there. Some scenes were. Oh yeah, there were cats.
Yeah, definitely. I remember very clearly when I was sitting at the desk and I get hit from behind, right? What did I get hit with? Was it a dart or a
Is that when
laser
he fires his laser gun thingy,
Yes,
as I call it in the book? Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember thinking that, okay, I'm gonna have to fall. Like I'm gonna get hit and then I'm gonna go unconscious. So I remember using my hand on the desk, right? To kind of like, so my hand was on the desk. You can't see my desk, but this is the desk. My hand was here. And I just remember thinking, okay, so I'm going to get hit from behind and I'm just going to fall and hit my head on my hand, right? And then flop down unconscious. And so I did, like I got hit, I was like, bam, and then I kind of flunked over. And I remember after you yelled cut, everyone was like, oh my God, are you okay?
Yes.
And because the thump, like it was literally like it was like even harder than that, like it was a thump.
And with the end of the world, not only means
That's funny because also I think perhaps a more complicated moment was when you and Vic did your big swooning kiss at the very end of the movie. I think that was actually ended up being more complicated than you hitting your head on the desk because you know, I seem to remember trouble getting up. I know you were also supposed to be having trouble getting up and stuff like that.
But I think we did have trouble.
I mean, I just love like, cause like the brain part, the thing with the brains in the graveyard, because it's so gross.
That's the only truly gross part.
And because we had some sort of brain, didn't we? And then what do we use for when he was eating it?
Oh, he ate the brain.
I feel like occasionally I might have brought some food. I remember eating lamb brains at one point on set. And, I thought that was a good, wholesome food for everybody, but, maybe I should bring some Timbits or something like that.
Oh, he ate the brain.
Okay. We had cooked brain for Connor, and he ate that. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure if this is perfectly cooked through, Connor. Do you want to sign a release form? Yeah. Yeah, that's always fun to watch. So there's brains in the snow too, and that's like raw brain. It's just not human, obviously. We went to a butcher shop. It was Anyway, my vegan friends aren't going to like me so well right now. Well, it was a different time, 15 years ago. Anyway, Rob.
I'm trying to remember what my favorite part of that. I mean, I don't want this to sound like this is going to sound bad, but I love the cheesy effects with the alien ships and like all that stuff. But I don't want to. That sounds like I'm saying I didn't like the actors. The actors are great. There's a lot of great moments in it where they're just everything's again. It's that just ridiculous thing. The whole. Yeah, the whole feel of that, and exactly what you're going for, that terrible B movie kind of, just doing the best, like whoever's directing it is doing the best they can with the clips they have. And but yeah, I don't know. I think it's because I grew up on those old sci-fi things where the bad special effects of the ships and that sort of stuff. I love any of that stuff. The battles going on. I love the outside, like the scene where I'm outside as Lance Sirius. I love all that, like the people looking up at something they're supposed to be seeing and it's really obvious that they're not seeing anything, anything at all.
those pie plate those aren't really there.
Yeah, like it's just the reacting, and that like that was the 50s was everybody, and I mean still is now even with digital technology, still everyone reacting to nothing.
But I wanted to talk to you all about the films that influenced space zombies, like Plan 9 from Outer Space, Friday the Monster, the other films of Ed Wood. There's the creature features that inspired the Starfish monster and the monster toad beast mutation thing, and then there was Bulashaka, the guy with the cat head on his shoulder that Vic created because he wanted to combine cats with people. Of course, why wouldn't you? And that was inspired somewhat by The Thing with Two Heads, a movie with Ray Milland of all things, in the 70s, I think. So whether it's those movies or others that you found a sprinkle of in Space Zombies, or it might have reminded you of something, please go ahead. Let's chat about that.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a healthy dose of Ed Wood in there, I think. And I've seen a number of Ed Wood movies. Plan 9 from Outer Space, Glen or Glenda. Was it Bride of the Monster, Bride of the Atom? I can't remember.
Bride of the Monster. Something might have been called Bride of the Atom at some point, and then got its name changed.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've seen one or two others as well. And I feel like I grew up watching a lot of creature features in the afternoon.
I was not a big creature feature guy. My dad, I used to watch like old kung fu movies with my dad. That was like our weird, like I don't know, like strange movie thing. But I mean, so Ed Wood, I mean, I knew a little bit of Ed Wood. Glen or Glenda was an Ed Wood film I'd seen.
It's
Really,
actually the worst one, I think. I think it's truly the worst one. They say Plan 9 is the worst film of all time in some corners, but I think it's Glen or Glenda, truly.
well, it depends on whether you mean like worst, like is worst like truly like the worst, like i.e. the most irredeemable piece of filmmaking, then it's nothing of Ed Wood's, because Ed Wood's stuff is fun, right? If you're talking about like a movie that is put together poorly and doesn't make sense, like something that, you know, like the Room being a descendant of, right? Then yeah, I mean, Glen and Glenda doesn't make, I mean, you know, and now looking at it today through today's eyes and how we view a whole bunch of things from, you know, from sexual politics, like, yeah, Glen and Glenda does not hold up very well. I had more exposure to Ed Wood though through watching the movie that was made about Ed Wood, starring Johnny Depp, right?
Yes, Tim Burton's movie, correct?
Yes, exactly. And so that was a one that probably influenced me the most.
At the time, you know, and still very much to this day, like at that time I hadn't seen any Ed Wood films, I don't think.
Like Ed Wood the movie was my introduction to Ed Wood, so that Johnny Depp movie.
But I definitely had seen snippets of Creature Features, and I also watched a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh,
so
that's a good one, yeah.
Some of that stuff definitely, like Manos, Hand of Fate. I feel like a lot of that stuff made me like prepared to be, you know, part of the whole, to be part of the feature.
There was one about the brain that did like I don't remember names.
Die or something, or
something like that. Like there's
it was all by itself, right? It lived.
Yeah. There's that. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Things like those that are just you know, that classic sort of. I love the black and white sci-fi movies. And when I was a kid, I just anytime I could get them, I would watch them, and they were just, you know, they were the kind of thing you'd see on a Sunday afternoon channel, you know, back when we went by times of things.
Right, and Saturday night, you know, which it's still, these kinds of things get programmed and jammed into Friday nights and Saturday nights when no one's watching, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, when they program space zombies, basically.
Exactly, like that's exactly, the thing you're parroting is exactly what they, you know, exactly where it ended up, where it should be. Like that makes total sense. And it's I'm terrible with remembering names, but just that whole genre of film is so entertaining. Even now, if it comes on late at night, I'll sit there and I'll watch it, even though I know it's garbage and I know it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna be satisfying, but it's just fun to watch these ridiculous things and wonder how, you know, how did people do, like some of these actors are so serious in these things, and you're like, wow, you really did a good job considering how awful this film is.
I grew up as an 80s kid, and I grew up watching the slasher films of the 80s. You know, I love the horror genre. I love to be scared, but it wasn't until I got a little older that I could really appreciate, you know, some of those, you know, creature features in the Ed Wood films.
We watched countless movies on Drive-In Classics. We watched countless movies. There was an app called Film Vault for a while or something, and we watched a lot of old monster movies on that one too.
Godzilla and Gamera, the turtle that would fly through space, and all sorts of silly nonsense like that, and also Scream, and Scream and Drive-In Classics were the channels that bought space zombies, so that's very cool.
I would say, you know, echoing what you guys were already talking about, you know, back at that time when space was on, they used to air a lot of the old black and white movies kind of during the day, and they'd have like almost marathon. Oh, they have at night. They had like movies from space at night, which I love. And sometimes they would show those. Like I remember like the original Fly from the 50s.
Oh, Mitch Bryce and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and so those were a lot of fun to watch. And then also at that time they used to run, and I'm a big fan of classic Doctor Who, so just those monsters from the old Doctor Who's, and they would run the ones, not the Tom Baker ones, but the really old ones, the William Hartnell ones from the 60s. And those were great because that had that, of course, that campy kind of feel to all the monsters and all that stuff. So I've just kind of been refinding and rewatching those over the last couple of years, actually.
Like, Kimmy, do you have any similar movie memories? Or
no, I mean, I guess like the old Doctor Who's. I guess are going to be the closest. Like when you look at you look back to the old Doctor Who stuff after seeing the Doctor Who stuff, and you see the TARDIS, and you see like it's like cardboard, and
the aliens in particular that they did, and monsters, they were a good example of that.
It's sort of fun to be in something where we got to sort of as an homage to that and say let's take a little bit of money and see how much fun we can have.
But it was interesting because I didn't have that influence at all, and if anything, space zombies gave me an appreciation for that genre.
For me, let's see. My earliest recollections of movies like that would be similar to Kevin's in that the thriller double features on the Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons sometimes. I think the movie The Severed Hand comes back to mind.
I thought about the Universal Studios monster movies, like the Wolfman and Frankenstein, Bride Frankenstein, all these other also the studio films back in the like post-war.
And then I would also add in, just because of the character I played, Vincent Price stuff, just because he was often the narrator and he was often that kind of character, that it felt like that character. So a lot of Vincent Price stuff I watched as well. Again, often on Space. I don't think his stuff was on Driving Classics a lot, but that had a lot of good movies. There wasn't a lot, yeah?
Yeah, they liked on Driving Classics to play the Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe, Vincent Price films.
Right.
Those ones. And maybe things like The Last Man on Earth, where he was pretty much acting all by himself and also narrating so much.
Yeah, so I think that's probably, what I was thinking of when we were putting this film together, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that the Zombie Girl, that was me, other than directing and co-writing and stuff and doing editing, odd job composing stuff. When I was actually in it, I was Zombie Girl, you were Zombie Boy, and then there was Connor being Lord of the Zombies. It was constructed to be like that team of aliens that came to Earth in Plan 9 from outer space.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of struck those notes really well. I mean, we weren't exactly going for precisely what those actors had done or not done.
Of course.
Your film reminds me of like Mel Brooks, like Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein, yes, thank you for mentioning that, actually.
So I know it's probably not a direct influence, but I can see some of the humor that's there.
Well, one thing in particular I'll just interject was the mole on Kevin. That was directly from Young Frankenstein type stuff. It would move around. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah, no, it's a great homage to like those post-war films for sure. I mean, there's like, I used to watch a lot of Godzilla movies, and that was all about like post-war anxiety, but in such a ludicrous way that one way to cope with like what was going on at the time.
Yeah, like the nuclear waste bits. I mean, we're talking nuclear stuff, but more atomic, I guess, angst.
Yeah, exactly. And then leading into the Cold War and all this other anxiety stuff that was, it's in those films, but sort of like it's kind of done in this comic way, I guess.